the Oasis. Kior bought a 25 gold piece worth bag of powdered silver from Macklin. Also needed to find an expensive golden reliquary, preferably one that does not already belong to Vecna. Jazen offered to use a wish to get one. Some of us were more skeptical about others based on previous reliquary wishing instances. We did discover that no one in the party, well, none of, let's see, I have Cure, Jaws, and Tab, or the Peanut Galleries. None of those people are saints. I don't think we specifically considered Macklin or V, so I guess the jury is still out. Did get permission to borrow Setta's riding lizards. I don't know if I'm getting feedback on Heather's mic or what's going on there.
Maybe.
Like intermittent crackle sound. And we would be responsible for feeding the lizards, bugs, other lizards, some vegetation. There was lots of discussion about that. And then nobody had a particular plan for the night other than Kior's plan to marry and bless people. So we all went to the airship, varying degrees of against our will. Met the captain, met various people, talked with various people. Macklin told Sorrow and Dusk about a dream that he had about the future. I think this wasn't when he was one-on-one with them, so I don't think anyone else. That's right, because this was the dream about adventurers attacking the Oasis and about talking about who Ghost is. Yeah, this was definitely one-on-one. We don't know. V was provided with coffee. It was very strong coffee. V has probably still not stopped moving. There were some shenanigans with a crew member reading coffee grounds like tea leaves. V got some nice, some positive looking indicators. Well, mostly positive. There was something about a dispute on the horizon.
Oh, there's a lot of feedback coming through Heather's mic
Yeah.
now.
I'm working on it.
I wasn't sure if it was something to do with when I was talking or not, but it sounds like not, so I will carry on. Yeah, I don't have much else. V got cut off from drinking coffee, had a bonding moment with Macklin after Edgar hasted and prestidigitation Sparkly V around the boat. Macklin had got an invitation to come back to the airship as a home when the Vecna fight is over. Then we all went to the Raven Queen Temple, either together or as a group, depending on who we were. And Cure began her sermon and cast Summon Celestial, and something that appeared to be a Solar appeared. It was very well described, but I did not write it down any of the description. That's all I got.
Not a sermon.
Sorry, what would Kiora call it? I know it was not a sermon and it was not a potluck, but I'm not sure what she
A summoning.
Okay, Kior, I apologize, Kior. She doesn't know, but she can feel the disturbance in the force. Kior gave her did a summoning. And it seems to have worked. I believe
it is a blue skin celestial, which is somewhat odd.
It's probably fine.
I mean, I'm sure that lots of celestials are blue skinned.
Maybe we'll all find out together.
I know of at least 2 that are. Well, now 3.
That all happen to be related.
It's a good thing nobody has any family issues.
So the Solari that you summoned, all dressed in white silks and golds. Actually, no, it would be black silk. It would be black silk and gold. Looks to you, Cure.
Holy shit. Oh, Thank you for manifesting. That was really quite impressive. There are no wars to be fought at the moment. I was simply hoping you would bless this place with your presence for a time. I think that's how this works.
What language are you speaking?
I would say holy shit in common, and then I would switch to celestial for everything else.
I am happy to bless this place of worship of our matron. And the celestial answers in common.
I'm sure that got a response from the gathered people.
Yeah, everyone's just kind of watching wide-eyed. And you summon this. I'm sorry, I forgot. You summon the celestial inside the church?
Just outside in the front.
Okay. And they look at you, Cure. Were you wishing for a sermon, or what can I help you with? They do say that in Celestial.
Oh dear, if you wish to give a sermon, then I know they would be rapturous to hear it. I simply plan to give out some benedictions and blessings.
They incline their head to you and open the doors to the church. Say a soft prayer under their breath. You see the fires light in the various. The place starts to smell of incense as they walk in and head to the front.
I'll turn back to the people, give them a bow, and then follow this spirit into the church. And once inside, I will make my way towards the front. I've got a couple things just set out over there to make the ceremonies worthwhile, so I'll take up a position up at the front and gather my pouch of dust and wait for people to assemble and gather and seat themselves.
Oh yeah, people do. This is definitely unusual. Even Seta comes. Having heard the gasps and commotions from where she was, comes and is just watching this with interest. As everyone takes a seat. As the Celestial looks to you. Was there a particular subject you would like me to give a sermon on?
I purse my lips a little bit and think about it. I think about the domains of the matron. Perhaps something on the importance of living the life that you have been gifted with. We all end up in the same place eventually. And it's the wealth of experiences that we bring with us.
Their head to you slowly and take up a place in their purse and begin the sermon. Toot. Let me roll. Ooh, that doesn't suck. It's a fine sermon. It's you most of the wow definitely comes from the fact that the sermon and liturgy is being led by a celestial of the Raven Queen.
Yes.
But in and of itself is kind of a fairly straightforward, carpe diem, live the life that you were granted, be kind to others sort of deal.
That's pretty much to be expected.
It's fairly
Oh,
short.
shit. Ignore that.
Okay. It's fairly short. It only lasts for about an hour. Or not an hour, about 45 minutes. As towards the end, the celestial invites anyone to bring up their sick and their wounded. And a few people do come up. A few people who look like they've lost maybe a limb. There's, a older woman with just a sticky cough. It's fairly, there's not a lot of sick people here. There's probably like 6 or 7. During each one, the celestial kind of says a prayer over them. They look better. And then the celestial looks to you. Is there anything else you would like to do before the summoning ends?
That is a very open-ended question.
They just blink at you.
Please bring my regards back to the matron. I appreciate your time in coming here. Kyor's quietly struggling, oh geez, this actually worked. Now what?
They nod and incline their head to you and fade in at just a shower of feathers that dissipate.
And they're gone. All right then. I said, good. It was, wasn't it? I'm glad it worked out that way. All right. Is there anyone here that seeks the blessing of marriage? That's something I can do.
Sure. There is 2 couples this time that come forward instead of your 12 last time.
Excellent. This is much more manageable. Okay. All right, everything's pretty easy. So one of the things I would have wanted to have prepared beforehand was a basin of water. And while the spirit was giving his sermon, I would have been with pouch of powdered silver in hand, I would have been just quietly blessing the basin over and over, since I can only create a vial of holy water.
Mm-hmm.
So that hopefully by the 45 minutes I would have gotten everything nice and blessed in there.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And then I would use the water to kind of give a benediction over the couples seeking marriage and go through the marriage rites that I kind of know by rote. Bless them with the idea that the matron is in no rush to see them, and that they should enjoy their time together, etc., etc. Simple, straightforward, and earnest.
Mm-hmm. Easy enough. Couples are
Go ahead.
happily wed. Oh, sorry. The couples are happily wed. They leave the church pretty quickly afterwards.
I can't blame them. After that, I would ask if there are any youths coming of age that would seek a blessing from the Matron of Ravens.
Mm-hmm. There is one. A young drow girl comes forward.
How lovely. And I'll give them a benediction, perform a coming of age ceremony for them.
How many spell slots do you have?
I am probably going to be upcasting several of these.
Okay, just curious.
I keep forgetting that this is not a ritual.
Yep.
It's ceremony?
Yeah.
How many marriages were there?
2.
2. Got it. All right.
And blessed water.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. How many spell slots would have been needed for that?
I will say 5 spell slots for the entire thing. However you want to split that up, you can split that up however you want.
That works fine. No. Let me double check because
Can paladins cast rituals when they have them prepared?
Paladins can't ritual cast.
I thought so.
that could be it.
Not without a feat.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good feat.
I just looked at. Oh, it does note as a ritual. Interesting. Okay, that distracted me from my spell slot breakup. Okay. Yeah, I'm still good. Okay. I would, out of curiosity, I would ask if there is anyone who is seeking to atone in the eyes of the Matron of Ravens.
Yes. 2 young gentlemen and a young woman approach.
Okay. I'm gonna. Let's see. So I need to make a high insight check. I guess the high insight check is used to see if they actually want to atone. All right, so I'm going to go through that, look over the first person, hear what they're seeking to atone for.
The first one is adultery.
Oh. Now, with the insight check that I roll as part of the ceremony, if that gives me insight into the idea that they're not actually feeling remorseful.
Yeah, I'd like to play it that way.
Okay. I'm curious if I would still have to spend the spell to actually give them
No.
that divine. Okay, cool. That's good. All right, adulterer, let's see what you have to say. Ooh.
Seem contrite.
I don't cast the spell on him, but I still go through the benediction. But towards the end, I mentioned that the matron of ravens takes her bonds and oaths very, very seriously. And that I would encourage him to take his bonds and oaths just as seriously, lest the matron feel the need to withdraw her forgiveness. Put a little fear of God in him.
Yep. Roll an intimidation check.
Oh God, I'm actually not good at intimidation. But I am tonight.
Except for this particular subject. Sure, yeah. He does seem to be taking it seriously.
Okay. I kind of regret not casting the spell on him, but also I know that I have to be sure. I don't want to just sling that power around.
Mhm.
All right, so then I will check on the next person.
Sure. Yeah, the next person, a young woman. She moves forward. She needs to atone for wrath.
Wrath. Oh, I'm quite familiar with that one.
She may have stabbed a friend or a boyfriend. Yeah, she does feel bad about it. They didn't die. She will tell you that they didn't die, but she definitely stabbed the girl who was sleeping with her boyfriend.
When she explains that, I pause and look after the first guy. And then look back to her.
She shakes her head now.
I nod a little bit. All right, I do perceive the contriteness, so I will bless her with the gentle warning that the matron sees us all in time, and she's not in a particular rush to see us before that allotted time. So she does not think very highly of those who would seek to move an individual's time forward. So the next time she feels that anger well up within her, remember the matron is watching and act accordingly. Give her a few Hail Matrons, send her on her way.
Sure thing.
Visitor number 3.
Visitor number 3, a young man. He confesses to the sin of greed.
Ah.
And he actually stole supplies from the caravan.
Stealing from a caravan in the desert is a very, very serious affront.
And while he has...
Oh no. Oh no.
He does say that he gave the things back and he apologized, so He seems contrite.
He is the very picture of contriteness. He feels terrible about what he has done. Well, a crit fail would suggest that I believe him
Oh.
regardless.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I delightful.
So I don't know if I would actually try to cast a spell, but I'm not sure if it would work.
You cast the spell. It is unclear whether it works.
I'm privately unsettled by the lack of surety and realize that I don't know if I read this right or wrong. So again, I'll go through, give the benediction, and advise him that those who seek a place in the desert seek a place in one of the most dangerous lands, a land among the closest to the matron's realms on Exandria. And that in order for all to survive, food and supplies and safety must be shared amongst the people of the oasis, and that those who bring such things should not be, what they bring should not be taken from them without their consent, as they are looking towards the welfare of the entirety of their village here.
Okay.
Maybe I could persuade him of the virtue of working with the caravan rather than taking from it.
Roll persuasion at disadvantage. He definitely seems to have listened to your words.
Okay, maybe that rescued things a little. And then I will send him on his way.
Okay.
All right. Between the sermon, the marriages, the ceremonies, I'll now kind of bring things in, thank everyone for attending the evening's mass. And if anyone would like a small benediction on their way out, they can line up. And in this, I would just, dip my hands into the holy water, dribble a few drops on them, give a prayer of protection. Just Matron of Ravens, guard these travelers on their path, etc., etc.
Sure. And everyone who's basically left will sign up. Will get in line for that, and people are trickling out. As you finish up, though, that you notice that there is one young man staying behind. Seems to be half elven. A set of horns to his horns to his head, so he looks maybe like half elven, half tiefling. Hard to tell.
That's an odd combination.
So he has the regular drow coloring, but has horns on his head that kind of fold back into like a ram's circle.
I'll finish my farewells to the parishioners on their way out. Kind of look over in his direction and cock my head a little. And I am wearing my mask throughout all of the evening's events, so.
He actually approaches you, and you notice he's wearing a symbol of the Raven Queen. And he looks nervous. Hello.
Good evening.
I know you were performing rites. I was wondering perhaps if you might perform the rite of dedication.
You seek to devote yourself to the Matron of Ravens.
I do, yes.
I nod thoughtfully. And you have given consideration to what such dedication would entail?
I have, yes. A great deal of thought, but I still want to. Please.
I nod. I have only one question for you then. The matron has a complex reputation among her followers on Exandria. But the more you study her teachings and understand what she represents, you find that she really only expects one thing of us. Do you understand what that is? I ask that knowing full well that I really kind of bent the evening's events and mass and sermon towards a very singular theme. I realize this in retrospect.
To do our best to live a good life and do what we can with the time we're given.
I nod. And to share that experience with others, to ensure that they do not meet with the matron any sooner than she dictates they will. To care for them as we would care for ourselves.
He nods. I do that. I am healing. I've been training the center.
Then you study with a wise mentor. I'll gesture him to kneel before the altar of the matron.
He does so.
After a brief little talk, I'm going to do one insight check to see if I can gauge his devotion.
Sure.
18's respectable.
18 is respectable. He seems nervous, but more like it's an excited nervous and maybe a still not very good at people more nervous than like any reservations.
I nod. Draw some holy water out to sprinkle it upon his head and then lay my hand upon him. Then with the power invested in me by our matron, I bless you and bid you welcome to our order. Though I also highly recommend we send for a proper cleric. I'm not sure my order is the one you want to join exactly. But don't worry, you're not swearing into that one.
He does give you a smile at that.
I'll reach into my bag of holding and produce a pamphlet, hand it out to him.
He takes it and looks it over. This is good. I have a book of prayer. So he reaches to a pocket to pull out a very well-loved book of prayer.
That speaks more to his intentions than anything else. The Book of Prayers is for you. The pamphlets are for those who seek your assistance.
nods slowly, looking over the pamphlet again.
Read between the words and follow the intentions behind the meaning there. Help those understand what it is to seek out the blessings of our matron. It can also be useful to dissuade them from the more questionable assumptions.
Nods a little bit. I think I understand.
Then I charge you with the sacred task of maintaining this shrine for the settlement here. See to its upkeep. Ensure that those who seek out guidance find some measure of it here.
He does give a stronger nod at that. I can definitely do that.
Thank you. Might I ask your name?
He nods slowly. Death, Bonray.
Can you just type that out real quick?
Yeah.
That is a very interesting name. Very apropos. Welcome to the Order, Brother Bonnet.
Thank you. He looks more comfortable when you address him by his last name.
I'll clap a hand on his shoulder, give him a pat, nod to him, and then begin to gather up my things.
He will help you pack up.
I thank him.
He seems to be a little bit more relaxed around you as the actual ceremonial part of dedication has ended.
How many of my companions have actually stayed throughout the entire thing?
That's a good question. How many of your companions have stayed?
Macklin's been watching.
We've. Oh, of course he has. Just point of order to make sure I understand the space. This is inside. There's a door, or is this more of an open air situation?
So they're inside of the church.
Okay.
And it's just a little chapel.
Okay. So what I was picturing was that we had somewhere in the 45-minute sermon, probably 10-15 minutes into it, went outside, left the door open. So we're outside doing yo-yo tricks and pacing a bit. We haven't gone far. We occasionally peek in through the door, and can occasionally be seen moving around outside, but we are in fact not in the church itself, because sitting still is hard, and listening to a sermon about the Raven Queen is harder for some of us. So not far, but not immediately present.
Fair enough. So that's who's around.
Okay. All right. Once once everything is finished and packed up, I'll move amongst my companions, give Josen a little shove on his shoulder. You're in a sacred place. Show some respect. And staying absolutely silent. You know what? I think that was quite respectful. Thank you. I finished the services here. We can retire for the evening.
Macklin will stand up and dust himself off. A fruitful and productive evening. I think the people here will be greatly appreciative.
I believe so as well. Things went very, very well.
So that person you brought over,
The one who's... I kind of gesture without turning towards Brother Bonray.
Macklin briefly gestures wings over his shoulders.
Oh, that one.
The big one. Was that someone within the Raven Queen's circle? One of her choir?
A spirit of her court, I believe.
I was uncertain whether it was some kind of hero of old or some such. Or the aforementioned saint. I suppose with masks it becomes a little harder for your order to establish identities like that.
I suppose it is possible.
Just idle curiosity, I suppose. He's going to make his way out of the chapel, pondering that over.
I'm going to, well, follow Macklin out.
Has the sun set by now?
Yeah, it's set.
We'll fall in as they emerge fall in alongside as they all emerge from the chapel. How was it? How was the rest of it?
I think it went well.
Was it really? We did look in occasionally. It looked like you were sleeping.
Well, I thought it more heartfelt and intimate. Meticulous, even.
That's better for sleeping.
Certainly is.
Sounds like you felt very relaxed. That's good.
Yeah, I'll do.
We believe it. We didn't want to be distracting, so we went outside. But it looked good when we looked in. It sounded good. It looked very official.
I wonder if things had not happened the way they did, This would be your regular job, Cure. Sermons and working with people rather than marching off and smashing skulls. I have to imagine you want to settle, though.
Here? No. I'm not overly fond of the desert, but I shrug a little bit. I'm glad to help out whenever I'm in the area, at least.
Well, you're doing God's work.
One of them, at least.
One of them, at least. Well, the nightlife here is a little bit more active than the daytime life, and I'm certain the locals are all abuzz about their benedictions and marriages. Have we any plans for the evening?
To get up very early and go to Uncle El.
Pretty much that, I think.
Macklin nods toward Tab, then nods toward Cure.
That's not in the evening, but it might affect the evening.
I believe there was talks about getting rooms back at the bar that Seth runs.
Yes, I believe that was... We were going to rest and then head out in the morning, weren't we?
Sounds about right.
We nod.
Excellent. I'm feeling rather tired now.
I could use a rest.
You just had one.
That was done.
Jocelyn starts walking towards the bar. Cure, an old man always needs his rest. Roughly about 12 hours of it.
Well, far be it from me to argue with that.
And Jocelyn will walk to the bar.
We will follow, sort of keeping an eye on his path. If it looks like he's going to walk into anything, we will attempt to intervene. But as long as he seems to be...
Spoiled sport.
Hell of a time from old Earth. It's all sand.
And Jocelyn will approach Seta and ask, do you have any rooms available for us?
No, we're all booked up.
Insight check,
Yeah, she's being sarcastic. You don't need to roll.
but I want to.
Okay, roll.
22.
Being hella sarcastic.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep watching.
Well, if you want, we could, unroll our bedrolls on the floor. If that would suffice.
Would drive away all my customers. Alright, daywalkers, I get you room keys.
We wouldn't drive away all of them. Some of them might like it. Some of them may join us.
You know, if you take a nap in the middle of my bar, then yes, some people will probably join you.
Then they would still be here and they would need breakfast too.
Maybe I shouldn't give you room keys.
I question anyone's ability to sleep in the middle of a bar without an excess amount of alcohol in their system.
Well, it is a bar.
We don't have to. We'll just sit right over there. And we just sort of gesture at a corner of the bar.
Oh, I imagine you'll be in for an interesting night. What with the nightlife here.
We usually are. We'll report back. And then we look over Macklin's shoulder. Is that the Seeker?
Pardon?
Never mind. We look a little disappointed.
So these rooms.
She just lays out just probably 5 keys on the counter.
I've had a very long evening. I'm very tired.
Did Death come see you?
We beg your pardon?
Yes. Yes, he did.
I don't remember anybody dying, but that's. Oh,
You were asleep at the time. I didn't want to wake you.
that makes sense. Though I gotta be honest with you, if I got to meet, well, I didn't want to. Yeah, no.
It's a pity. He was a very charming young man.
What happened to him?
He died.
So now
He's-
he's death? Or he was death in the first place?
He's tending the shrine.
That seems fitting.
So he didn't die. Who are we talking about?
Tata is starting to look confused.
I remove my mask so she can see that I'm actually smiling. I have to admit, that was a very fascinating name.
I believe his mother wanted him to be a fancy assassin.
Well, that's somewhat counting the chickens before they hatched.
It really was, considering his father was a mild-mannered wizard.
That seems like a good way to not make your child be a fancy assassin. It's a lot of pressure.
I don't know. I don't know of many mild-mannered wizards, so there might have been something there.
But yes, he's been studying to heal under me, so. Good midwifery.
I did mention that he had a wise mentor, so...
She just grins at you. Well, now that he's properly dedicated, he can take care of the temple.
We really should send for a proper cleric to spend some time at least instructing him a little bit of the ways of the matron.
That would not be a terrible plan. If you have any clerics that you can spare, why don't you send them by?
I was hoping we could send for someone a little bit closer to Marquette. Preferably in Marquette.
You are going to Ankara tomorrow, are you not?
I will keep my eyes open for a temple.
Then it is settled.
And then a new legendary cleric was born. Jason's gonna grab his key, give a polite bow, and head up to the room that is marked on the key.
Alright. Fair enough.
Kior is going to head up to her room as well.
We're going to head to the table in the corner that we were looking at earlier and just sort of settle in.
Sleeping off a hell of a lot of coffee. Oh, I'm gonna continue that much farther without her, but
You mentioned that keys were given out, so there's multiple
Yes.
rooms, as I understand it.
everyone
All
can
right.
get there. There's enough for everyone to get their own room.
Okay. Macklin's going to retire to his room as well, and with the intent of waking up early in the morning, just down the rest of his water skin. Work on that natural alarm clock situation.
Definitely a choice that could be made.
Can you remind me, do I know Bonray because generic drow stuff, or do I know Bonray because that is V's literal last name?
If he has a name.
I don't know. I feel like that's what I feel like, yes, but I may be completely making that up. Like 100% making it up from whole cloth.
Well, he didn't put that on his character sheet, so...
Okay, so I'm probably making it up from whole cloth.
I'll
I was
send-
about to say I don't think Kior even knows V's last name.
Oh. You know why I know that name? It's because I'm DMing Dragon Heist and
That's
running
probably
Jarlaxle.
why.
Okay, carry
Yep.
on. Never mind. Thank you.
It's an OG drow name.
I was like, I knew this was
Yeah.
relevant to a character that was relevant to my interests, and I just had to think about a different game. Sorry about that.
That's where my mind went to when I heard it.
Yeah, then Tab is not inclined to go hunt down this individual
It's
because
a very nice Easter egg.
it's not relevant for Tab.
I was about to wonder if I did a thing that I didn't plan, but we're totally...
I mean, it would be a good thing. I mean, it could still be a good thing. I just not on my account. We just don't know.
Tab,
Yeah,
you're up all night.
yeah. I mean, at some like. So I do need to get in my 4 hours of brooding. What is the sort of momentum of the night?
So it's pretty busy because as you all enter, it's actually fairly busy as most people are getting breakfast.
So everybody's waking up now that it's cooling off.
Yes. And it's not cold, but it's definitely cool out.
Okay.
And yeah,
Okay. I think we're just gonna chill at that table in the corner. I mean, we've got a couple of books, honestly, on us. So we'll spend some time poring over the tattoo book, and then we'll pull out Wish for a Wish, and we'll read that, and then we'll pull out the very long, code-breaking romance novel and start to read that. Like, we're not committing it to memory. We're just like, we're up. We're sitting, we're doing that thing where like you go to a coffee shop by yourself where it's bustling and you sit alone and read, and you're not looking for anybody to approach you. You're just hanging out and enjoying being in the presence of other individuals while doing your own thing. So that's Tab. That's what Tab is up to. And we do. So there's like breakfast, and then is there like a quieter portion in the evening, or does it just
yeah. So as you continue on, it gets quieter. Like there's the breakfast rush, and then it gets quiet. Such as doing. You guys haven't actually seen Seta do a lot of work because you guys come in at like the equivalent of the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
You do see that she does like actual prep work and the things that are required for the running of a place.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And is Edgar back to like chilling outside once every while? Like cut to Edgar chasing a beetle again, or is Edgar elsewhere? Oh, Cure is BRB, so we don't know. Okay. Yeah. So at some point, like during the quieter points, we'll put our head down on the book, like we've sort of dozing off reading it. We don't actually close our eyes. We just brood for 4 hours, and then we pick our head back up and keep reading. And we'll get up like now and again and order a snack, or order some tea, or order some coffee, or order another snack. Like we'll when it looks like Seta is like just as she's finishing up something. So we have a pleasant, quiet night.
And it really is, because Seta kind of keeps. I mean, she keeps you topped off on tea. Like, she doesn't like pour you a new glass every time it's empty, but she kind of leaves you a pot of tea to pour yourself. And leaves you like a bowl of mixed nuts and things like that. Yeah. It seems like a pretty standard night. Pretty standard breakfast and lunch service that you see.
Yeah. Yeah, we pop Sunbeam out and pet him and things like that.
Sunbeam gets a lot of attention because you get the feeling there's not a lot of like dogs around.
Oh, that makes sense. So
Especially not ones that look like Sunbeam.
Yeah, we we yield our Sunbeam petting for him to play with and be fawned over by anyone who needs to pet a dog more than we need to pet a dog at this particular moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a pretty active night. Nothing. Sorry.
No, right there with you.
Max and Percy have taken to waking me up at like
Oh no.
3 a.m. So, yeah, so it's a pretty active night. And why doesn't everyone roll me con checks?
Con checks.
Check or save?
Check.
Just shoot a check.
Except for you, it doesn't count for you.
Oh, okay, good, because that was a natural one.
Save it for later.
Get it out of my system.
Okay. Yeah, you're the first one up.
Oh, my early morning is probably going to be spent with prayers and preparing my spells for the day. Probably spend a little extra time doing it in the wake of the ceremonies the previous night, as I also kick myself and wonder why I'm awake so early.
Okay. And followed next by Macklin.
Okay. I'm gonna get up and take note of the time. Hopefully it's still very early so I can get a hold of Seta.
Yeah. Thankfully it is early enough. It looks like you catch her kind of as she's about to head, looks like, to her private quarters.
Okay. Yeah, passing her in the hall, Macklin's going to adjust his cloak and his armor, and Seta, may I borrow your ear for a few moments?
All right. Private place or?
Discretion would be advised, yes.
All right, follow me. She leads you to a back office area. It looks like where she does most of the business of running this business.
Okay. Once inside, he'll remain near the door and double check a bit. Not really scoping out, the area too much, but just confirming that this is indeed a quiet and discreet place. This
Sure.
might sound. Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
this might
I-
sound. You first.
I was going to say I wasn't sure if you were pausing to check for a roll, so.
Yep, nope. Just a few moments for him to steal himself. This might seem sudden and seemingly out of nowhere, but hear me out for just a few moments. You are in touch with the supernatural, the spiritual, with Hades, correct?
I am in so much as most clerics are.
I can't say to know much about your order, but Jozen seems to have a sort of wisdom to him, a sort of knowledge that doesn't quite make sense. True knowledge nonetheless. Does your order put much faith in soothsaying, portents of the future, stories or visions of what may come?
A little bit.
He nods, not entirely confident with the answer, but he rubs his chin and, for a few moments, breaks eye contact to think. As I understand it, you and Sorrow have been having discussions, perhaps heated ones, about the very nature of the lost city, how the obscurity of this place protects it.
That's true enough.
What if I were to tell you that I know for certain that obscurity will not protect this place forever? That I could tell you for a fact, not opinion, that upon a certain day there will come a time where those who would look upon this place and see monsters, see drown, every other evil thing that they assume to go hand in hand with the color of skin and the scale or tail or other non-human quality, see this place as a challenge or something to be righted.
How much will you tell me of this?
Do you mind if I sit?
Of course.
He'll
Motions
find
to
a
chair.
he'll find a chair and he'll take a seat and place his hands in his lap. Between the time you saw us last and the now, more has just changed than the faces in our party. A lot of us have been through some, pardon my Cajun, gone through some shit. we've seen a potential future. We've lived through the transition of time itself. I study her face to see if she thinks I'm fucking crazy.
Roll an insight check.
Sure. Okay, that's 34.
She's definitely taking you seriously.
Seeing her reaction, or lack thereof, the sincerity, he lets out a slow sigh. Struggle to return. Our trek was not easily won. But we did come back with glimpses of the future. I met someone from here who had survived what, to my best calculation, I believe 6, 7, 8, 9. If I'm not mistaken, 14 years from now, there will be a group of adventurers who arrive here. They will see the drow, they will see the tiefling, they will see the dragonborn folk, and they will raise this place. If you see a champion of Cord, a cleric, be aware. I don't know if what we have done has done anything to dissuade this path of events. But I do know that it happens upon the evening of the day of Ascension. And I know that none survive but one.
Nods, and you see that she is genuinely listening.
As I understand it, you and Sorrow have been discussing this matter for quite some time. I do not agree that militarizing or training guards in the ways of war is what is necessary for your lost city. I think it would very much detract from what it is. This little oasis is unique, protected by the desert, a group of misfits brought together by their differences. You are one enormous, tight-knit family. To turn to sword and shield and such things, yes, it will protect you, but I believe that is not your way. I think that is why you two butt heads on the matter, correct?
It is.
You know, it's...
You don't like the idea of looking at the world with the same distrust that they look at us with.
I have put some thought into it. And I'm not sure what matter of opinion I may have, what it might weigh for you, if it carries any weight at all. But ignorance should be fought by enlightenment, I think. If your oasis, your lost city, were to no longer be lost, but instead were to make itself known, to reach out, perhaps find allies in the nearby sands. I think perhaps it might be worthwhile to reach out to... there's a man named Bonebreaker Treve. He's my kind. Quick with their fingers, quick with their wit, but even quicker to see things. If you were to have a few folk like that in this town, good folk, the kind who look out for those they care about, it might be a place to start.
I think you are correct. I will reach out to contacts that I have in the city.
He inclines his head. I appreciate you taking this matter seriously. I had debated whether or not to bring it up to you in the first place. Not many people take the phrase, "I've come from the future and have bad news," very seriously.
Back then, my hair is made of snakes and my eyes turn people to stone.
Yes, I know there are stranger things, and when you put it like that, it, well, makes me sound insecure. I don't quite like that. And he goes and he stands and dusts himself off. We have a meeting with the debt respite later on this morning. Or perhaps this evening. Depends on how fast we travel on Lizardback. If you would like, I could send a missive for you, or alternatively, give you as much time as you need to arrange your contacts.
I will write letters this trip. But first, I will get some rest.
He nods. Right, this is your evening. I've taken quite enough of your time. Thank you again.
Of course. Thank you as well, Malcolm.
He bows his head. Anything I can do to ensure the continued prosperity of the city. He smiles and bows his head and makes his way toward the door. Good morning, Seta.
Good morning, Malcolm. She actually follows you out, too. She's not staying in the office.
He will break off from her and make his way to the bar proper.
We're still sitting in the corner reading the very large book. Very, very large. I don't remember how many pages it is, but it was very, very large. Is it any good?
It's really, really good, actually. Surprisingly good. You expected it to be super dry, but
Yeah, I mean, we figured it would have some redeeming value when, like if you're gonna read something, like if you're gonna carry something around for a secret code and memorize it, like it had to be something. But yeah, we figured it was like good bad.
also it's written very
So.
Beautifully. Like the prose in it is beautiful.
Oh. Yeah. So we are immersed in spite of not in spite of ourselves, just like to our surprise, we are deeply engaged in this extremely large book. Probably in that case, probably don't particularly notice Macklin coming in between that and our very bad passive.
It's very, I would say, Rothfuss-like in the way it's written.
I have actually not read any Rothfuss, but I believe you. So we're sitting at the table, sitting at the table in the corner, and Sunbeam at this point is probably like laying on his back, snoring next to us on the ground.
Yeah. He's had a big day.
He's
That
met so many
sounds
people.
like, yeah, definitely sounds like Sunbeam.
And Johnson, you're the last one to wake up.
With the grogginess in his eyes, so I don't know how that happens, but it does. He will head downstairs for breakfast.
Okay. And I hate to call it early, but as everyone heads to breakfast, we're going to call it for tonight.